Hey everyone, it's Strange Michael. I hope you're doing well today. I have a review, but first and foremost, I want to kind of start off this video with a little bit of a note, a little asterisk, if you will. For many of you, you probably know about 6 or 8 months ago, somewhere in that ballpark, I started reviewing the A Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, and I had one more movie left, and then a ranking video, before I moved on to whatever else I was going to do. And I regret not finishing the list because now I have a lot of things I want to talk about. Like, for example, I want to talk about the Hellraiser films. I can't really figure out if I'm going to do that or not because we have this new reboot coming out on Hulu in October, very early October. We have not even a week later, we have a new Halloween film. I'm kind of overwhelmed. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do. I'm not really sure what I'm going to figure out and what I decide to do for the channel, but regardless, I'll try to figure something out. Anyway. Box set. Loved it. Pretty much enjoyed all these movies. The last one I reviewed was Freddy vs. Jason from 2003. And as I said, I had one more movie left to talk about, and that is the 2010 A Nightmare on Elm Street remake. Now, this is a very controversial movie. Very, very controversial movie that I have some opinions about that I think a lot of people are going to hate me over. And it's fair. If you want to be that way, that's completely fine. But just be ready, because I have a lot of things to say about this, and I think it's a lot of things that most people won't take into account. First and foremost, back in the day, I got an LG Dare as my first ever touch screen cell phone, and this was the poster that I had on the wallpaper for that. I loved it. It's a great looking poster for Freddy Krueger. Whether you're a fan of Jackie Earle Haley or Robert Englund's version, it doesn't matter. This is a really cool looking poster for Freddy fans. Moving along. What is this remake about? Well, again, you know, it's a remake of a 1984 film, a 1980s film just in general, but it specifically came out in 84 about, let's see if Michael can do math real quick. 84, 94, 2004, almost 25, if 26 years later, somewhere in that ballpark. I saw this in the theaters when I think it was early high school, yeah, because 2008, summer into 2009. Yeah, so I was just starting out in high school, probably my sophomore year of high school, as a matter of fact. But anyway, I saw this with my mom, and we were both surprised by how much we enjoyed it. But at the time, I really kind of had the taste that I enjoyed everything and anything. To this day, I still like this movie. I know it's going to be a slap in the face to a lot of people who are older than me who have seen everything like my mom has, like the original Nightmare on Elm Street film, all the way through the series until now. I'm still looking forward to some kind of reboot, remake, something like that, some kind of requel or whatever you want to call these things that Blumhouse is talking about doing, like with the 2018 Halloween movie they did. I am a massive fan of this movie, and it might even be in my top 5 of the franchise. There's a lot of movies in this series, and I love this one. I think it's genuinely flawed, a lot. But I think it's generally entertaining in a lot of ways that people don't give these movies credit for, in particular this movie. Now, I'm a big Nightmare on Elm Street fan. It might surprise people, being a big Nightmare on Elm Street fan, why I feel the way I feel, and I hope this review will kind of explain that a little bit to a lot of people. You know, there are certain people on YouTube that I love deeply, like Christian Hannah Horror and Lost River Drive-In, who both love Halloween 5, and I hate that movie deeply. I have a love for Halloween 2, the Rob Zombie sequel, so I have a lot of opinions people may want to kick my kneecaps in backwards over. So, this is probably going to be one of the most controversial reviews I ever do, alongside my Scream 3 review that I did a while back. So if you want to see some stir in the pot, watch this one, watch that one. Anyway, so what is the story of this movie? After a little bit of a prologue to this video and telling you about my fandom, so basically you have a particular fellow named Dean. He looks like he hasn't been sleeping very well, and he happens to be the brother, I believe, of Katie Cassidy from Arrow and Supernatural. Fantastic actress. She does a very solid job here. And she's kind of got a little bit of a really unfortunate situation with this movie. She watches Dean kill himself, supposedly, in front of her and in front of some other people, some other kids that she goes to high school with, including Nancy, who is played by Rooney Mara, who didn't want to be here. You can feel it every time she's on screen. She just doesn't want to be here. You can tell. Rooney Mara starts out not being our main character. Nancy is not really our main character. Katie Cassidy is not playing Nancy. She plays a different character. I don't think her name is Tina. I don't know what it is. But anyway, so that girl sees Dean, her brother, kill himself with a steak knife in front of her and in front of all these other friends that they're from school, they're not really friends. Some of them are, it's kind of like, not like the 1984 film. They know of each other, they don't hang out, most of them. There's like a group of 3 and a group of 2, and then there's like Rooney Mara, who just kind of knows about these guys. Anyway, when he does that, before he does that, he makes mention constantly of this fellow with knives for fingers and a glove and whatever, who's coming after him, and he can't go to sleep or he'll be killed in his sleep. And things kind of turn into the 1984 movie for the most part. It's a little bit of more of a modernization than I think Nightmare on Elm Street needed. It's fine. Halloween had kind of done that. Friday the 13th had done that a year before. It makes sense why we went the direction we went with this. I don't think Samuel Bayer, the director of this movie, is the guy for this movie. So the kids all start to get attacked. Now you have some other kids in this film. For example, like I said, Rooney Mara is here playing Nancy, but she's also not here. She just doesn't want to be here. You can feel it in every single scene. I mean that when I say it. That's why I'm saying it twice. Katie Cassidy being our main protagonist for about a half an hour. She's fantastic. I wish she had been the protagonist of the entire film. She's fantastic. I really, really, really enjoy her. She's such a talented person. I cannot believe Arrow on CW did with her what they did. It's insane to me. Anyway, you have Kyle Gallner from Haunting in Connecticut. I can never say the name right. I just see the big old word Connecticut every time I think of that movie's poster. I'm about to rewatch that sometime soon. I don't know if I'm going to video on that. I might. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe if you want it, recommend it, down in the comments, and I'll do it. But anyway, so Kyle Gallner is in this. This other kid that played John Connor in the Sarah Connor Chronicles TV show for Terminator is also in this, playing one of his friends. And they're all like emo. Like everybody in this film, it's like they haven't slept in years, and they all look like they're gothic. You know, and I kind of like that. It fits the style of what Samuel Bayer is going for. Again, his directing kind of kicks the kneecaps out from under this movie, but we'll get there. So, then we get to a particular casting that is the most controversial thing ever in Nightmare on Elm Street films. Up to this point, people who are younger than me, I was probably 15, 14, somewhere at that point when this movie was announced, when we started getting trailers for it, when the film came out, I was somewhere in that ballpark. And I remember online the kind of attitude and angst and anger people had over Robert Englund not coming back to play Freddy Krueger for this remake. He had retired from the role. He recently came back to play it on Goldberg's. What? Why? Jackie Earle Haley was cast as Freddy Krueger for this remake. And the little bit of him we saw in the trailers, not so much the face, which looked like trash, but everything else, the costume, the stance, the way he carried himself, some of the jump scares in the trailer, which by the way, this film is filled with jump scares. It's kind of a problem with the movie. It's a big issue with the movie. I'll get there. I was hoping that Jackie Earle Haley, all these years later, would have more fans on his side than when this movie came out. And that is not the case. The only person I've ever heard defend this movie as much as I do is Jamie Jenkins from the only podcast I like to listen to, the Skeleton Crew Horror Show, which I highly recommend. They're not around anymore, but when they were and they did their Nightmare on Elm Street retrospective, I'm thanking God that they talked about this movie and that Jamie Jenkins likes it as much as I do. It's very stylistic. It has red neon, green neon, that Platinum Dunes filter over the screen, a very grainy looking screen, even for a movie shot in more of a digital camera style than the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake from 2003. It is not perfect, but aesthetically I really like it, and I think it's fairly satisfying to me. But Jackie Earle Haley playing Freddy Krueger, to me, I love this performance. I think he's fantastic. I think he's so scary. He's so intimidating. It's something I've never felt with Freddy. My mom says back in the day when the original 84 movie came out that she felt intimidated by Freddy, especially in the alleyway scene with the arms. Scared the hell out of her. She still talks about that to this day when you talk about horror movies with her. One of her scariest movie moments of all time was that scene from that movie. For me, there's nothing really scary in this movie. It's filled to the brim with CGI, and not really even good CGI. There are shots like in the original film with the wall scene. I don't want to tell you too much in case you haven't seen that movie, and for whatever reason you're watching this video review of a remake of that movie you haven't seen. That's weird. But anyway, if you haven't, there's a scene done in the original film for like $5 that's redone here with CGI that had to have cost millions of dollars, that I think it still looks like trash. Why would you do it the way you did it? We need a Blumhouse type that can remake Nightmare on Elm Street. And I wish they would cast Jackie Earle Haley for that. I really do. I think his performance is so scary. He is, to me, one of the best Freddy performances ever, because of course Robert Englund starts out being really dark, and as the series progressed he got more and more comedic, more silly, and some people don't like that. I like it, you know, I don't have a problem with that, as I said in my previous reviews, but in this particular movie, I think Jackie Earle Haley is scary as hell. I really do think that. I think he frightens me deeply in a primal way. There's something about him. It's not really the makeup, it's the voice. It's the modification of the voice with the sound design. There's a lot of things done with him, the design of him, the look of him, how frail and thin he is compared even to the Robert Englund version. He's just plumb out scary in my opinion. I don't care what anybody says. Yes, the movie is very flawed, but this movie is carried on the back of Jackie Earle Haley. He steals every scene he's in, and I mean that in the best possible way. I love him. I love the man. He's extremely talented. He is so underrated. He played Rorschach in Watchmen, in case you don't happen to know that. The dude's brilliant. He's a brilliant actor. I love him, even in small parts like the RoboCop remake, which most of that movie sucked too, but still, he's great there. He always puts in 100%. He's one of those actors like Samuel L. Jackson or like Denzel Washington. He just puts in so much effort into his roles, and I love that, and I appreciate that. And this movie really shows that off. But anyway, I don't want to linger too much on that, but I really think he was a great, great pick. If he was going to be the only replacement we ever had for Robert Englund, he was one hell of a pick, and I still stand by that. So, moving along to the writing of the characters themselves, the scenes. What's that really like? Well, it's a little sloppy. There's pretty much no humor in here aside from the extremely dark jokes of Freddy Krueger that I love deeply. But aside from that, you don't really have a whole lot of personality within the script. I think the actors do a better job, depending on who we're talking about, of trying to do something special with that. Katie Cassidy, the girl playing Nancy's mom, who I've seen on a bunch of TV shows in the past. Clancy Brown is in this, who plays Mr. Krabs. He plays on The Flash. He's in a bunch of stuff. I love Clancy Brown. You got, who else? Kyle Gallner, like I said, the kid from Sarah Connor Chronicles. All these people are trying to make the script better than it actually is. Maybe a little bit of that is Samuel Bayer, maybe. I don't think he's a complete loss as a director, but he's more of a Michael Bay than he is a Christopher Nolan when it comes to writing and blending that and everything else. And again, there's too much CGI. I've already said that too. The writing is a little bit of a mess. I'm sorry. That's how I feel. The cinematography, again, it looks very specific. I can look at any scene in this movie, just a picture of it online, and I know immediately what it's from. It's like the Friday the 13th remake or the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake or even the Halloween remake from Rob Zombie. Say what you will about all these remakes and all their directors and all their creators behind the scenes, but they made very distinct movies, which we don't really see that anymore. Look at all the Marvel films. They all look exactly the same, almost always, depending on what we're talking about, unless it's like Civil War and Winter Soldier or Guardians. They typically all look the same. It's kind of sad, but that's not the case with this, and I think aesthetically, again, this stands out so beautifully amongst the franchise for me personally. I love it. I think it's genuinely beautiful. Now, the music, it ain't much. Let me be honest with you. It's really not much. It's, for decent sound design in this movie, most of the time, the music is not great. It's very bland. It's kind of in the background. I'm not really focused on it because most of the film is, you know, for me, again, if it's not a Freddy scene, I'm kind of underwhelmed most of the time. Other than that, I'm sorry, I really don't have much to say about that. It's kind of weak. But overall, I think the movie itself is entertaining. It keeps my interest the entire time through, unlike certain films like New Nightmare. It doesn't have the kind of flaws that, you know, some of the weaker, later middle entries of Nightmare on Elm Street have as a franchise. For me, it holds up really well, and again, I really love most of it because of Jackie Earle Haley. If he were not cast for Freddy Krueger here, I don't think I'd like the movie as much as I do. When I get to my rating, it's going to seem high. I think a lot of you folks are going to want to kill me over that. I'm sorry. It's just the Jackie Earle Haley performance for me really made this movie, and when I watched it during my marathon and the previous reviews I did, even now, months later, it has lingered with me and kind of bothered me that I never got around to finishing this video up and this series up. I apologize again for that. I hope the wait was worth it. I am going to do the ranking video immediately after this video for you, and I hope you enjoy that. But I will tell you, you're going to hate my rating. You might as well go ahead and accept that. So, when it comes to my rating for the remake, the 2010 remake of A Nightmare on Elm Street, almost 25 or over 25 years later, if I had to rate this film on a 5-star basis, I, Strange Michael, would give this a 4 out of 5 stars. Now, I know I complained about flaws and issues, but they are not nearly deep enough to ruin this movie for me. It's the kind of thing, I genuinely believe this, like with the Friday the 13th remake, a lot of people trash that movie for the most unfair of reasons. Even supposed fans, the most unfair of reasons, they trash that movie. Just like they do with this one. Because Robert Englund's not in the film, everybody seems to hate it based just on that alone. I know it's not perfect when it comes to the other things, the filmmaking aspects, the script, the acting. I understand there's problems there, but most of that I don't have an issue with. Most of it. I don't. I can acknowledge when it has a problem, but it's not so often the way people make it out to be. And again, I wish the CGI was cut down tremendously for this. It's too much. It kicks out a lot of the tension of the movie. And when there is tension, it's effective. Really, to me. I really love it. And I don't care what anybody says about it. It's a solid flick, and I really enjoy it. I'm going to get trashed in the comments and trashed on my likes and dislikes counter, even though you can't see my dislikes anymore. Even so. What do you guys think about A Nightmare on Elm Street's 2010 remake? Do you hate it? Do you love it? I would love to hear what you folks have to say down in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, guys. I will do the ranking next. I hope you enjoyed. Anyway, God bless you guys, and goodbye.